Hey, welcome to Keeping It Real, the largest podcast made for real estate agents and by real estate agents. My name is DJ Paris. I am your guide and host through the show. Today on the show, we have our monthly series called the Monday Market Minute with Carrie McCormick from At Properties. She is the head of the Carrie McCormick Real Estate Group. She is a top 1% performer in the Chicagoland area with over 20 years of experience helping buyers, sellers, and investors. In fact, in the past 12 months, out of 44,000 real estate agents in the Chicagoland area, Carrie is usually in the top 15, not 15%, the top 15 individuals. So she is in the top 1/10 of 1%. She's a true superstar and an expert in everything from first-time home buyers, veteran investors, and luxury properties. She also works with a lot of developers and is often chosen to represent their high-end developments. Please visit Carrie at her website, which is carriemccormickre.com. Again, carriemccormickre.com. And please follow her on Instagram, which is Carrie McCormick Real Estate. So at Carrie McCormick Real Estate. Carrie, welcome once again to the show.
Thank you as always. Love that introduction and appreciate everything that you do for our industry. So thanks.
Well, thanks. You are part of the thanks because you provide a lot of value to our listeners and audience as well. Carrie and I were talking before the show started, and she was saying, "How's business?" Because we have, I think 730 realtors at our firm. The firm Carrie works at, I think they have 3,000. So we both are at larger firms. And she was saying, "How is it going?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh, it's so crazy. We've never been busier." And Carrie specifically has never been busier. And so we were talking about buyers and how buyers have it it's like the best time and also a really difficult time because there's so much competition with interest rates being so low. People can just afford things that they couldn't afford before.
Yeah, it's really kind of a little bit of a battleground out there. And that's really what I wanted to talk about today is, being a seller in this market right now is easy. But buyers, on the other hand, that's a totally different story right now. So that's what I want to talk about. So let's talk about the buyers. So everyone that's listening, the housing demand is going to continue to surge due to several factors here. One thing that people don't think about is the millennials. They have aged into the prime home buying years, and now they are the fastest growing segment in the real estate market. These young consumers are mostly buying their first homes at this point. And here's a really fun fact. So I read this on Bloomberg. Not only are millennials buying homes, but their starter homes. So think about like your starter home. They are now multi-million-dollar homes. They're not starting out with like a $300,000 home. Their first home out of the gate is a multi-million-dollar home rather than, their traditional first property. And millennials are expected to continue to drive this market through 2021. And with all the home buyers, not just millennials, but all the home buyers, active supply is lacking, as we know. The current pace of home growth seems unlikely to change in the near term. So being a home buyer in this market, you're obviously facing a ton of competition and you have to act very quickly. So the main reason behind such an extreme pace of home sales and appreciation is really just the basics of economics, the seesaw effect of supply and demand. So we've got a ton of demand and no supply. Right. And this is not just in Chicago, this is really across the country. And the country needs more homes to meet this demand. The pandemic, of course, coupled with this whole supply and demand issue, it's really also hindered the home builders. So think about, the cost of building a home and the cost of construction. That is soared and we don't have enough land to build on. So the home builders are also a little strapped of trying to keep up with this competition. So we're kind of in this, like I said, the seesaw effect of supply and demand. Mortgage rates, as everyone knows, both inventory of homes and mortgage rates are at their historic lows. The month supply of existing home sales has fallen to 1.9 months. It's the lowest level since 1999.
Wow. It's interesting too. Like I know you mentioned developers. That's something I kind of wasn't thinking about, but I know lumber prices are so
Mhm.
high right
I
now
know.
that almost two times as much as what they or like 40% higher. And developers are going to have to pass that over to consumers. I guess the good news is with money being a lot cheaper to
Right.
borrow, it's but still then there's increased competition. So everyone's paying a premium right now.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
And now, do you think there's going to be a slowdown anytime soon?
So my answer is twofold, yes and no, if you like that answer. So I don't think that there's going to be a slowdown in the market, but if there is, it's only because we don't have enough inventory to keep up the pace. So think about like the North Shore, for example. There's, I don't know, 22 homes on the market right now. Once those homes get sold, there's not enough inventory for buyers to purchase. So by default, the pace is going to go slower. So we may see numbers trickle down a little bit, but it's not because of demand. It's truly because of supply.
Yeah, that's interesting. And we're seeing, I know, also a lot of flight, at least here in Chicago and really probably across the country in the
Mhm.
more urban areas,
Mhm.
people moving from urban to suburban. Is that a myth? Is that actually happening? I know that that's what we hear about happening,
Right.
but has that been your experience?
To some degree, but honestly, the city's doing really well, and we're seeing a lot of movement there too. So, with obviously the rise of remote work, or remote work, that people are able to work from anywhere, right? So we've seen
Mhm.
that big now suburban boom, and one thing that people just keep talking about, like you said, is everyone moving out of the city to the suburban areas. And again, there is some truth to it, but there's also some truth to people wanting to stay in the city and just have bigger home or have a yard. And actually, Zillow, 'cause I do a lot of research and a lot of reading, as you probably can tell, but Zillow did publish some market data, and then it showed that there's not a huge difference between the suburban growth and the city growth. They're both kind of growing at the same pace, and they're seeing record sales in both urban and suburban markets. In the city, there are some segments. I always say the city is broken up to, Chicago is broken up into different market. It's a market within a market, if you will.
Yeah.
So some neighborhoods are outperforming others, some type of product is outperforming others, some price points are outperforming others. So if you look at it as a whole, it may not seem like it's moving that quickly, but if you take, let's just say, single families in Roscoe Village, they're skyrocketing. If you take condo buildings in Streeterville, well, maybe they're flatlining. But, each neighborhood is performing at a different pace, but all in all, both suburban and urban markets are doing very well.
Yeah, it's interesting. I just saw a statistic today from, I believe, Chicago Agent Magazine. I just want to credit them, and I think it was them, and it was something to the effect of the median home price in Chicago now is just under 300,000, where it was traditionally around 275,000 or so, and
Mhm.
it's risen significantly in the last year because of, I'm guessing, decreased inventory, increase of buyers flooding the market, obviously the pandemic, maybe getting a lot of people who are now working more from home thinking we need to expand or get a bigger place. But boy, everything is just increased competition from buyers. It
Yeah.
is, everything's going up and up and up. So great time if you are looking to sell, but definitely challenging for buyers at this point. What are some of the tips you have for agents who are working with buyers, that just how to maybe even prep the buyer in advance to here's what's going on?
You will definitely have your financing in line. That's a total given. Um, Unfortunately and fortunately, there's a lot of cash in the market right now, so it's hard to beat a cash offer.
Yeah.
What some buyers have to do or strategically have to think about is waiving their appraisal contingency. I know no one likes to do that.
Mm.
Attorneys and both lenders, you know, kind of frown upon that, but it's also up to the buyer of, how they feel about it. So it's really, your financing has to be in line. you have to put together a very strong, compelling, clean offer to these sellers. And, it's a lot of talking up front, when you see the house, what's important to the seller. So make sure you find out what's important to that seller and you give them exactly what they want.
Yeah, and I would imagine too, is just making sure that buyers know that there's a speed to lead kind of situation here where or speed to close, I guess, or speed to offer, where once it goes on the market, the clock is ticking and it's ticking very fast. And I would imagine you're probably telling your buyers, if you like this place, we need to put an offer on pretty quickly.
Right. Absolutely. You have to see it that day. You have to make an offer quickly. So it's a race to the finish line. And that's why it's important for any buyers that are listening is you have to work with an experienced agent. I recommend someone who's got a very good network around them and a good support team so you can get across that finish line.
And it is called a cooperative commission when the realtor is, of course, working together, and that's where it's really important to have good relationships with other brokers, because right now when your offer comes in, if they recognize the name and they've done transactions with you in the past, they probably, have certain feeling about, working with you and whether they, it was smooth in the past. Also, if they're working with a lender, seeing what lending institution it is. Oh, hey, that's a really well reputable company. They're going to be able to get this pushed through versus, so it's probably tougher if you're a newer agent right now, because you might not have a lot of those relationships in play. But it's a really good time to start developing those relationships so that, you become
and you're right.
more.
It's about the offer package. I tell people it's who your broker is, who your lender is, who your inspector, if you're doing an inspector, who your attorney is. I mean, a seller is going to look at that as a complete team that's buying the home, not just the buyer. So it's a full package that we have to give. One thing that I don't understand is why brokers argue with each other. Like if I'm a seller and there's a buyer's broker that's going to be, I don't know, troublesome, I guess, at the beginning of, getting their offer in and how they want to present it and start causing problems at the beginning, it's just not a great way to approach an offer.
Yeah, it is called cooperative. So it's a good thing to remember for all the agents out there that everyone's a little stressed right now. Agents are stressed. Sellers are stressed because they're getting so many, seller agents are stressed because they're getting so many offers. They're having to figure that out and deal with all of the buyer brokers who, of course, are going, what's going on with my offer? So
Right.
Everyone, if we could all could breathe a little bit and treat each other with compassion and kindness is probably going to go a long way to once things settle down. People won't have lingering bad feelings about working, with you in the past. And I know that you've even told me, hey, you said you'd be shocked at how some agents even talk to you, and you are very well respected and liked in this industry. But it's tough right now. I mean, agents are dealing with a lot of abuse from other agents sometimes.
Yeah. And you're right. I mean, I understand it's a stressful time for everybody and tensions are high and we're all A-type personalities. I totally get it. And, there's sometimes we just got to take a step back, take a deep breath, and we're all in this together and just treat everyone respectfully and be nice.
And for my quick marketing tip of the week, this is such a simple idea, but it is just a gentle reminder for everyone out there who has clients who are leasing. This is a good time to have the conversation. And again, we understand that prices are things are expensive right now, but still may be a great time for somebody who's renting to make that transition into home ownership because of rates being where they're at. And, just a great time to have that conversation. You might be able to actually save them money on their monthly rent.
Yeah.
By getting them, to convert over to home ownership. So anyone, this is the time where they're probably going to start thinking about it because it's so in the news. Rates are still talked about all the time. the public is seeing that. And if you're not having that conversation with renters, they're going to have that conversation with somebody. So it might as well be you. So simple tip, but just a good reminder. It's kind of like telling somebody, oh, I want to work out. We'll do some push-ups. It's like, well, I already know I'm supposed to do that, but good reminder. So do your push-ups, talk to the people that aren't yet homeowners and talk to them and ask them what their plans are. Say, hey, do you plan on buying in the next year or two? Because we could start looking at that now, and let's run some numbers and show it to you, because they're either going to do it through you or another realtor, or they're going to go directly to a lender. And that's fine too, but it should really start from you. You should be the hub of everything real estate. So reach out to your renters and let them know that just have that conversation. If you're not busy right now, it's a great opportunity to get busy. But other than that, I think that's a good place to wrap up for this episode. Carrie, once again, given us tremendous insight into the Chicagoland market, but also just what her experience is as a top producer. And hopefully this has been helpful to our agents. Carrie's been coming on for years and providing great insight. She's very well liked by our listeners and followers. So thank you, Carrie, once again, for taking time out of your busy day. I imagine this year might even be another record year for you. I suspect it probably will be. So I know you're super busy.
Yes, I am.
Well, we appreciate you taking time to do that. And for everyone who is listening or watching, please check out Carrie's website. You can go to carriemccormickre.com, but more importantly, follow her on Instagram. She is amazing on Instagram and a great example of what a realtor can do. She does it all herself as well. So that's Carrie McCormick Real Estate. So that's on Instagram, and you can just find her by searching for Carrie McCormick as well on Facebook and all the different social platforms. And Carrie, do you mind also, if any of our audience has a question for you, should they email you? Just
call me. I always pick up my phone. So call me at 312-961-4612, or you can email me at Carrie. It's Carrie @atproperties.com. But I'd love to help anyone out. Just chat with anyone. I'm always here for you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much once again. On behalf of our audience, we want to thank Carrie for spending time today. We had to reschedule this like 3 times because this is how busy Carrie is. So we're so grateful we finally got her. And trust me, we get it. We know how hard it is, as busy as agents are. So thank you. And also on behalf of Carrie and myself, we thank the audience. We thank our listeners and viewers for continuing to support our show. And we just ask you to do one thing: tell a friend. Think of one other agent that could benefit from hearing these episodes with people like the great Carrie McCormick, and send them a link to our episode, to our show. You can do that. Send them right to our website, keepingitrealpod.com, or just have them pull up a podcast app, search for Keeping It Real. We'll pop right up, have them hit the subscribe button, and then they'll get all of our episodes. So thanks, Carrie, once again. We will see you next week, next month.
See you next month.